The Herodians. The Herodians. The Herodians were a branch of Hellenistic Jews, as well as one of the major factions of Second Temple period Judaism. The Herodians were also a political party starting in 37 BC, and this was during the time that King Herod would become king, as they supported King Herod and his line, believing that King Herod and his line was chosen by God. Many of the Herodians believed that King Herod was the Messiah, though not all. Some believed that it would be someone from his line that would be the Messiah. Some of the Herodians did not believe in a Messiah, or in angels, or in the resurrection of the dead, being described as a mixture of Pharisee and Sadducee beliefs. Some Herodians simply believed that King Herod or someone from his line would bring stability and greatness and independence to the Jewish people. Now, it was because of King Herod's actions of rebuilding and expanding and fortifying the Second Temple and his political stability that many Herodians either favoured him, believing that he would bring greatness to the Jewish people, or believing that he was a Messiah and the Messiah king they were awaiting. Now, not all Jewish people accepted King Herod's rule or liked it. Some even hated King Herod and would hate the Herodians. The Pharisees and Sadducees, which also ran the temple alongside the Herodians, were the major factions of Judaism of the time, which hated the Herodians. The Sadducees were even another form of Hellenistic Jews, and they hated the Herodians, viewing them as oppositions of their power. The Pharisees hated them because they also viewed them as oppositions of their power and viewing them as corrupt. The Zealots hated the Herodians, viewing them as loyal and puppets to Rome, so they would go so far as to attack or assassinate them. The Essenes, which were much more peaceful, some of which were strictly non-violent, disliked all these groups, viewing them all as corrupt, corrupting God's word and corrupting the temple. Now, the Herodians can be described as very mixed in their theology, a very strong mixture of Pharisees and Sadducee beliefs. Like the Sadducees, some only accepted the first 5 books of Moses. Some were like the Pharisees, having a much more extensive law and would accept the writings of the prophets. Some, like the Sadducees, rejected an afterlife and rejected the resurrection of the dead, or even rejected angels. Some were like the Pharisees, believing in angels and believing in the resurrection of the dead and believing in a Messiah. Some of the Herodians believed that King Herod was the Messiah, if not believing that someone of his line would be the Messiah. Some Herodians did not believe in a Messiah. So the Herodians that did not believe in angels did not believe in Satan, as many of the Jewish people believed that Satan was an angel of God's court, though not all. Now, we also had the belief of other gods as well, so Judaism in its belief was diverse. Now, some of the Herodians believed that King Herod and his line would simply bring independence and greatness to the Jewish people. Some Herodians believed that God was incomprehensible and unknowable. Others believing that God had a part to play in human affairs. Now, in regards to the Jewish high priest, this would be a mixture of Herodians, Sadducees and Pharisees, which in turn will be in charge of the temple virgins. Now, the Herodians themselves would disband in the late 1st century after the fall of the Herodian dynasty. We mostly know of the Herodians mostly due to them being mentioned in the Bible and for having a hand in the crucifixion of Jesus. So thank you so much for joining us here on this discussion on the Herodians, as this is the first channel to discuss the Herodians on a strictly historical level and not a religious one. So thank you so much for joining here, and God bless. Have a lovely day and a lovely night, and lots of gnosis.